Do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me?
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. I say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some! Hurrah! What's going on, everybody? Great to see you. Another outstanding week here in our beautiful studio in Doha, Qatar, bringing you this live stream live to everybody. Just want to say that basically all the thoughts and opinions here at the field up does not necessarily reflect the opinions or for anybody in Sitch Radio or Aerostream for that matter. So with that being said, we got a great show. Just wanted to know that we have Jaime Puerta. Jaime Puerta is he's a fellow Marine. Hoorah. Him and I go back a little bit. We ride motorcycles. We're motorcycle riders, and he's here today to join us and tell us his story. He's been fighting the good fight against illicit drugs, and we'll get to find out a little bit more about him. So with that being said, let's bring Jaime onto our show.
Hey, Pacho, how's it going?
What's going on, big dog? How are you, brother?
I'm doing well. I'm doing as best as can be expected.
That's great, man. How's life treating you over there in beautiful California?
Well, for the first time in a very, very long time, we actually have showers, and it's 50 degrees here in Santa Clarita, California, which is unheard of. But we're really happy about it. So I'm glad. I'm just happy it's raining. We needed it.
Yeah, I know. That's when I used to be a California resident myself. That's what everybody says. Hey, we need the rain. But hey, man. So with that being said, why don't we do this? So you were in the Marine Corps, huh?
I was in the Marine Corps. When I graduated from the skin of my teeth from Burbank High School in 1980, I really didn't have any direction to go. I knew that I didn't like college. I've never been a book guy. I've never been a great student. I needed some discipline. I really needed some discipline, and grew up without a father. So I had the choice of joining the armed services. And I said, well, if anybody is going to whip my butt into shape, it would be the United States Marine Corps. So I joined the Marine Corps, and I went to boot camp. I believe it was in August of July of 1980. And after boot camp, I went to artillery school. I was in 0811. I was out of Las Pulgas, Camp Las Pulgas, and on Camp Pendleton. My 4-year career was spent there, and I left in 1984.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I got out as a corporal at that time, so honorable discharge. So I did my 4 years. Yeah.
No, that's great. I think, first of all, thanks for your service. I think it doesn't matter what branch you join or what service, because those moments, I think that when you're in that time frame, it's embedded into our brains, and I think it makes us, whether you could be the worst, even that one leadership challenge Marine, let's just leave it as that. We're still better off than the average Joe, in society, because we make something positive of ourselves, and it makes us resilient, and I think prepares us for a lot of things in life as well. And I think this is a good segue. I know within the last, one thing is that you've been doing is, you took on a very challenging fight due to a very tragic event. Can you share with us what led you to where you're at today?
Yes. Well, I did suffer a huge loss, a personal loss. I lost my son Daniel, who was 16 and a half years old, on April the 6th of 2020 due to fentanyl poisoning. My son, um, he he's a great kid. He wasn't a habitual drug user per se. When he was a football player at Saugus High School, and when football season was over, started messing around a little bit with marijuana, and then he went to some pills, and he got the help that he needed, and thankfully he was cleaned for over a year and a half, 2 years, and the pandemic hit, and he allegedly went onto Snapchat, connected with a drug dealer on Snapchat, and that drug dealer delivered to my son what he thought was a pharmaceutical grade oxycodone pill, 30 milligrams, a block from our home. And in all reality, it was a counterfeit pill made of some kind of binder and fentanyl. And in the evening on March 31st, he took that pill. And when I walked into his bedroom here at our home on April the 1st, I found him pretty much dead. Called 911, and they came and brought him down to the first floor of the house and started CPR and chest compressions. And they first took him to New Hall Hospital, Henry Mayo Hospital, I'm sorry, here in Santa Clarita. And then they transferred him to Los Angeles Children's Hospital, and where they were able to keep him alive. They had him on life-saving equipment. And on April the 5th, his biological mother, Denise Marie Johnson, and I decided to withdraw all the life-saving equipment that he was hooked up to, and we disconnected him at 3:45 in the afternoon of April the 6th, and he
Okay, take your time.
and he passed away on we passed away at 5:08 in the afternoon, 5:08 that afternoon, with his mom in bed with him, stroking his head, and I was holding his hand when he took his last breath. So if I get emotional during this podcast, I apologize. But anytime that I talk about my beautiful son, I get emotional because I love him and I miss him. So, but anyways, so he passed away, and I went into his bedroom and I found half a pill. Before he passed away, during that week that I was with him and in the hospital, I had found half a pill, and I took it to the hospital, hoping for a miracle that if they knew what was in the pill, maybe they could do something and bring my kid back. But the doctor said that he was just a shell of the boy if he was, and he was completely brain dead. The only function that he really had was his ability to, the most primitive brain function is that of breathing. And that's the only function that he had. And even then he needed help with the ventilator. But I found half that pill, and they gave half that pill, and they handed it over to Los Angeles County detectives, and took that pill and did an analysis of it. Approximately about a week or two, they came to my home, and they told me that they had done an analysis of that pill, and that my son had unfortunately died of an overdose due to fentanyl. And that didn't sit well with me. It didn't sit well with me at all, because I started thinking to myself, well, tell me about, I started thinking to myself, what pharmaceutical grade pill, if it is prescribed to you by a doctor, whether it be Percocet, oxycodone, OxyContin, or Xanax, what pharmaceutical pill in the market today can kill a perfectly healthy 16-and-a-half-year-old boy? Because what he thought, again, what he was taking was an oxycodone pill, but what it turned out to be was a counterfeit pill made of fentanyl. So in my mind, immediately, when that word overdose, it didn't sit well with me. And then my good friend Michael Gray from the Actors Foundation has the perfect analogy for it. And it's, in 1982, I don't know if you remember this or not, Pacho, but in 1982, in the city of Chicago, 7 people went and bought extra strength Tylenol, and all 7 of those people died. Do you remember that? And all of a sudden, Tylenol started coming off of the shelves. There was a national emergency, and nobody knew what was happening. But those 7 people died. And did they die because they took too much extra strength Tylenol? Or did they die due to the fact that the Tylenol had been tainted with potassium cyanide? Well, what's happening in our country right now is exactly the same thing, where children of all ages, and even young adults, are dying due to the fact that they're going onto social media platforms. And especially during this pandemic, they're going onto social media platforms. They want to experiment. They want to try drugs for the first time. They want to self-medicate because they're anxious, or they're self-medicating because they're bored. They're at home behind a computer where they should be with other children playing. But because of the pandemic, they're stuck at home, or whatever the case may be. Reach out to a drug dealer on Snapchat or Instagram or TikTok. Have that drug delivered to their home, consume it, and if it's one of the 1/3 of all the pills that, like, for example, here in LA County, according to Bill Bonner, chief of the DEA Los Angeles, Orange County, 1/3 of all these pills are lethal. So if it doesn't kill you the first time, we know that fentanyl is so addicting that your body and your conscience craves it after the first intake. You're going to die sooner or later. So that's basically what's happening right now. And between the period of April 2020 and April 2021, the CDC reports 100,300 drug deaths in the United States. 64% of all of those deaths are due to fentanyl. Think about that. 64% of all these drug deaths in the United States are due to fentanyl. And nobody
That's a really high number.
That's a really high number, but nobody really does anything about it. Well, they're doing something about it now, but when I first started, it was like nobody had heard about this, or, well, what is going on? And due to the stigma of addiction and overdose, most families think, well, this could never happen to my family because we don't have anybody in my family that does drugs. But even recreational drug users, are dying. Let's look at Little Peep and Mac Miller, Tom Petty, Prince, and a whole host of other artists. And the latest one, or well-known one, was Michael K. Chambers, the wonderful actor who was on The Wire. And,
yes, that's right. Yeah, he recently passed away. That's right.
Yeah, he just recently passed away. He ingested cocaine and it took his life. And 3 other comedians in Venice at a party ingested cocaine, and they died as well because somebody had put fentanyl into their cocaine. So you have 2 problems here. One is that fentanyl started coming into the country as of 2015 through China, and drug dealers were adding fentanyl to heroin to make it stronger and more addicting. So people within the substance use community, or the people who are addicted to drugs, started consuming it, and they started dying. But it left the confines of the drug abuse community and entered mainstream America. And how did they do that? Well, we have an opioid crisis in the United States where, if I'm not mistaken, back in 2011, I may be mistaken, but the Veterans Administration had put out, they started putting restrictions on how much prescription opioids they could prescribe to veterans. And what happened was, due to the fact that so many people were becoming addicted to these opioids, the federal government came down on the prescribers and gave them a limited amount of opioids that they could prescribe, which caused even more harm, because what happened was that a lot of people were addicted to these opioids. And when the restrictions came down, a lot of them turned to heroin, and a lot of them were able to get clean. But those people who went to heroin got stuck in this abused community. So transnational organizations south of the border saw a giant opportunity for themselves, a big money-making opportunity. And what they started doing then is, due to the restrictions, again, on these opioids and how they were prescribing them, what they started doing is they started pressing their own counterfeit opioids made to look exactly like a pharmaceutical grade oxycodone pill, Oxycontin, Xanax, or Percocet, and started and flooded the United States with it. Right now in the United States, according to the DEA, there is enough fentanyl in this country to kill every single man, woman, and child in the United States 7 times over.
Oh
7
my
times.
God.
That's how much fentanyl we have in the country. And that's not even including and that's just from the counterfeit opioids that we have in the country. That's not even including the fentanyl that's been being put into recreational drugs like cocaine. But we're also now hearing the first reports of cannabis being tainted with fentanyl as well. So,
Oh my God.
yeah, it's a crazy, crazy situation that we have right now.
No, and I know that, even within the service, the use of opioids, because service members get prescribed, they go to their aid station, then in our case, the Naval Hospital, whatever the case may be, and for their pain post surgery, whatever the case may be, they're prescribed that, they give it to their buddies, oh, hey, do you have an oxy, there? Oh yeah, I have one, whatever. And with mainstream, with social medias being so mainstream nowadays, that you don't know where, because I did happen to know an individual within one of my groups that used to be addicted to opioids and pills. So they're gonna get it how they're gonna get it, and I know this also affects the service members. You and I were talking earlier.
I can't tell you who told me,
Right.
but I am aware of active Marines who have died due to the ingestion of these counterfeit opioids. And that's what most people don't understand, is that they think that if they go onto social media platforms, that they're actually receiving a pharmaceutically grade trademarked oxycodone or Percocet or Oxycontin or Xanax. But we know for a fact that 98% of all of these pills that are being sold through social media apps, they are all counterfeit. All of them are counterfeit. So I get the question a lot of times, well, why would drug dealers want to kill off their clientele? Right? And it's not that they want to kill off their clientele, but for them, this is a billion-dollar industry. I mean, if you think about all the people who take opioids in this country, it's a billion-dollar industry for them. There is absolutely no quality control in making these pills. And my good friend Amy Neville has a perfect analogy of it. It's like making chocolate chip cookies, where one cookie might have just 2 chocolate chips or maybe 3 chocolate chips. Another cookie might have 6. And that's the exact same thing that's happening when they're producing and manufacturing these counterfeit opioids. They grab a binder, any binder, acetaminophen, it could be alprazolam or acetaminophen. They put it in a blender, any kind of binding agent that will hold the pill together.
Right.
Throw some fentanyl in there, blend it up, putting into the pill press machine, and the pill press machine just starts, spitting pills out. But whereas one pill might only have 1 milligram of fentanyl, another pill might have 3 or 4 milligrams. And all you need is 2 milligrams of fentanyl to take your life, especially that of the life of an 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kid. And we're talking about 4 grains, 5 grains of salt here. That's enough to shut you down. And the way it kills you, you just go into pulmonary arrest. It just shuts down your breathing and you die. You die of suffocation. From what I understand, though, thankfully that my son didn't suffer, because first of obviously is the euphoria, and then your lungs just shut down on you and you pass away. So it's affecting. It's a good point that you bring up about service members. Yes, but understand that fentanyl does not discriminate at all. It doesn't
Oh, no.
care what race you are. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what kind of socioeconomic status you belong to. If you are, if you're in that experimental stage, it's not like, let me go back to like the late 70s when I was in high school. I mean, if this stuff was around, and I say this a lot, and I kind of say it flippantly, but it is true. If fentanyl was around back in 1978 or 1979, I think at least 85 to 90% of the class of Burbank High of 1980 would all be dead. Seriously, because I mean,
Wow.
who wasn't doing drugs back in the 70s and 80s? Everybody was, and if
Right.
this stuff was around, I think it would have killed us all. So the other problem that you have is not only that does it not discriminate, but we have a generation of children who were brought up with pills. Think about it. I mean, we have school psychologists telling the parents of children, hey, look, your kid has an attention deficit problem and is not concentrating in class. So they take him to the psychiatrist. And what does the psychiatrist do? He gives them Adderall.
Prescribing pills, yeah.
They they prescribe them Adderall or Ritalin. If the kid is too hyper, what do? They prescribe Xanax. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not against mental health providers, trying to help children. I'm just saying is that what you see and how they perceive this is that the magical elixir is in the pill. So they're very used to the culture of taking pills. And even parents who suffer from depression, who have to take Prozac and Xanax, or parents who have, suffered serious injuries on the job, construction workers, whatever, and they have to take pain pills just to be able to go to work. Or you're working in the coal mines of West Virginia and you're taking these opioids to be able to get by in a day. So taking pills, unfortunately, in the United States has become very mainstream. And due to the fact that it's so mainstream, people are dying. And again, they're dying because they're being deceived to death. They're being deceived because they feel or they believe that they're buying a pharmaceutical grade pill, but what they're truly receiving is a counterfeit pill. So not only is it affecting members in the Marine Corps, and I'm sure it is in the Army, Navy, and Air Force, we probably don't hear much about it, or as much as we'd like to, due to the confidentiality of military records and all that. But I'm sure it's affecting a lot of people. And and I know for a fact that, the number that I told you before, 100,000, 300, those numbers are mostly pertain to the segment of society, the most overlooked segment of society, which is the 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, and that's what's happening. And unfortunately, my son is one of those statistics.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that, there's not much awareness because, it's much easier to dismiss it for the law enforcement agencies, which they're very thinly spread as well, to dismiss it. Oh, it was, it was an overdose. No, it really wasn't. And, and the law that's out there, it's not hard enough or harsh enough, which I know you're working through your organization, on legislation to make harsher punishment and go after these individuals. Can you tell us a little bit about, through the name of your organization, and what is that you're doing to make these people pay for their crimes?
When this first happened to my son Daniel, one of the first things that I did is I went online and punched in fentanyl, and then all of a sudden I saw all of these other parents who had lost their kids, and I grouped them together. We became a group, and at the time I didn't have the foundation yet, and I'll talk about the foundation in a minute. But myself Amy Neville, who lost her 14-year-old son, Alexander Neville, in Aliso Viejo, California, in June of 2020. Steve Filson, who lost his daughter, his 29-year-old daughter, Jessica Filson. She was celebrating her boyfriend's birthday with some cocaine, and there was fentanyl in it, and it killed her and her boyfriend. But we got together, and one of the first things that we recognized, that one of the hugest problems that we were dealing with law enforcement is like what law enforcement had told the Neville family and my family and the Filson family. We're sorry but your children died of an overdose. And I go, well, this isn't right. These are not overdoses. So what we did is grabbed an 8x12 picture, 8x10, should I say. And one of the first meetings that was set up was with Chad Bianco from Riverside County in Los Angeles. I'm sorry, in Riverside County, Chad Bianco. And I wasn't there.
Bianco, yes.
But Amy and Matt and Steve went to that meeting with the pictures of their dead children, and each parent spoke of their kid and how they died, left that meeting. Then another meeting was set up, and we met after that meeting. I did go to that meeting. We met with Sheriff Don Barnes out of Orange County. All the four of us sat down. We repeated the exact same thing that had happened with Chad Bianco. Each parent spoke of their kid and how that kid died. And we did the same thing with Sheriff Gore, San Diego, and we did the same thing. I forgot what his name was, but Imperial County, we sat down with him. And one of the, not to give more importance or less importance to any of the other sheriffs, but in my own mind, because I live in LA County, the most important meeting was with Alex Villanueva of Los Angeles County Sheriff. So we met with all 6 county sheriffs, and what happened with those meetings is that law enforcement, the heads of these county sheriffs, it's like a light bulb went off, and it said, well, wait a minute, Houston, we have a problem here. Because in law enforcement eyes, when you have law enforcement every day finding these deaths, their subconscious and their conscious always goes to overdose. Whereas we were able to separate the two. There's a big difference between an overdose and there's a fentanyl poisoning. An overdose is if I know what I'm taking and I take or consume too much of it and I die, that is an overdose. If I'm a 16-year-old boy who wants to self-medicate, goes onto a social media platform, purchases what he thinks is a pharmaceutical-grade oxycodone pill, but in reality is a counterfeit pill made south of the border, and it kills me, then that's a fentanyl poisoning. And due to the fact that it is a poisoning, it should be investigated as a murder. In fact, as murder in the second degree or involuntary manslaughter, right? So we were able to do this with these county sheriffs. To date, I know that Riverside County has already levied 8, or they have charged 8 different drug dealers with second-degree murder, I believe, and involuntary manslaughter. Orange County District Attorney Todd Spitzer. So Mike Hestrin is the District Attorney for Riverside County. They've already levied some charges against drug dealers. Todd Spitzer from Orange County. I'm sorry, Riverside County is Mike Hestrin, I believe. Todd Spitzer is Orange County. They're starting to look at these deaths also, and they are going to start prosecuting them, these drug dealers as well. So that for us is a huge win, because we were able to elaborate and show them the difference between a poisoning and overdose. They understood the problem, and they're starting to now, levy these charges against these drug dealers. As far as, and then from what I understand, and I was told, though I can't confirm, but I was told from Los Angeles County sheriffs is that all of their narcotics officers have been sent to a homicide school so that they're able to do a proper investigation into a death of a minor, for example. It's not normal to walk. By the way, 3 out of 4 children who died of fentanyl poisonings are found in the early morning hours by their parents in their bedrooms dead. 3 out of 4.
Oh my
So
God.
when you have law enforcement, being called to a house in the morning and you find a dead 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old, they already know what to look for. They know that it's not an overdose, right? Because these children are not drug addicts, by the way. They're not addicted to drugs. At least most of them aren't. And not to diminish the people in the substance use community, because
Right,
if
right.
I'm addicted to drugs, or if I'm addicted to cocaine and I have to do cocaine and somebody puts fentanyl in my cocaine and I die, I consider that a fentanyl poisoning as well, right? So anyways, we were able to elaborate on that. These county sheriffs look at this now as a very different type of problem. Uh, there's been awareness campaigns, huge awareness campaigns. Um, and But on the state side, as far as our California state legislature goes, unfortunately, and not to get political, but unfortunately, we've not been able to do anything about this, because we have a very progressive legislature that, if you take, for example, District Attorney Chesa Boudin from San Francisco, or you take District Attorney Los Angeles, Mr. Gascon, they, in my own opinion, and this doesn't reflect what my foundation's belief is, but my own personal opinion is, they believe in what's called progressive prosecution, that basically they don't want to prosecute minorities. They don't want to prosecute Latinos or blacks, because they feel that the majority of the people who are dealing these drugs are people from Central America, South America, and African Americans. So therefore, they feel like they didn't have a choice or the lot in life forced them or had to deal drugs, because society has been so stifling for them that it hasn't given them an opportunity to become what they could truly become. And then this is why they commit crime, and this is why they deal drugs. So therefore, there has to be some kind of other outset for them. And that's very unfortunate. So it's been an uphill battle, and due to it being an uphill battle, our foundation, but by the way, our foundation is called Void, Victims of Illicit Drugs. I'm the president of it. Amy Neville is the vice president of it. Steve Filson is the secretary/treasurer. And Chris Didier, he's a board member, and he's from Rockland, California. All 4 of us are bereaved parents. And, our main objective right now at Void, by the way, if you want to go onto our website, it's www.stopthevoid.org. Again, www.stopthevoid.org. You'll find there everything that we've done. We have articles, and the most important thing is that we were invited by Christine Wood, and who's the producer. She lives out of Orange County, and Dominic Tierno, a director of this documentary called Dead on Arrival. And we were invited to participate in this documentary. It's a documentary that is aimed for bringing awareness to the masses of the fentanyl scourge in the United States. And myself, Amy, Steve, and Matt Capilotto are in this documentary. Dominic Cherno he did a wonderful job in how he directed it, and it's reaching people now. I mean, it's being shown in high schools. It's been shown in high schools. There are private organizations. I just did last week. I was invited by Dr. Beatriz Villarreal from the Mano a Mano Foundation. They have a drug prevention conference once a year. I was invited to it to present in Spanish. I'm perfectly bilingual. I'm Colombian I was born in Medellin, Colombia in 1962.
Shout out to Colombia.
Shout out to Colombia. I'm Colombian American. I am an American citizen. I love both my countries. Yeah, I love both the countries, and but I was invited to give this conference. They showed the documentary. It's 21 minutes long, and afterwards, there's a Q&A, and that Q&A lasted about half an hour. And what amazes me most about these presentations is that parents don't know what is going on. They had absolutely no idea of the dangers that abound on social media. I mean, death. I mean, take it like this, Pacho. My son died in the safest place in the world, which was his bedroom in Santa Clarita, California, a middle to upper class type neighborhood. And again, and these kids can find this stuff on his phone. So when they gave the presentation of Dead on Arrival in Spanish and the question in the Q&A afterwards, to me it was so fulfilling, because again, our motive, our at Void, our main focus right now is making sure that parents and children are armed with facts, and that they can watch the documentary, they can see the documentary. And we're very, very proud that Alex Villanueva out of Los Angeles County, they have it up on their website. Orange County, I just had a meeting, or I just spoke to Sheriff Don Barnes. They're going to put it up on their website as well. Our documentary, due to the fact that right now in Congress, they're speaking of scheduling fentanyl from a Schedule 2 to a Schedule 1 and put it in the same category as heroin and cocaine. Our our documentary was also entered into the record in Congress. And we've also been invited by governmental. I can't get into much detail because I can't spill the beans just yet. But very, very important organizations have invited us. Both government and private organizations have invited us to show our documentary as drug prevention, and invited us to be present after the documentary has been shown. So in 2022, it looks like we're having a very, very busy year, and we're going to be going to different states to show the documentary. So right now, that's
sounds like a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, but it is absolutely crushing to the soul to lose your child to fentanyl poisoning. I'm a very different man than what I used to be. I can't even remember what I was like before April the 1st, quite frankly. I'm a completely different man. And my mission in life, you wrote here on the title, Man on a Mission. Well, my mission in life is to prevent as many deaths as possible. And the only way that we're going to do that is by making parents and children aware of the dangers of these counterfeit opioids and the dangers of internet platforms such as Snapchat, which is the #1 offender in my own mind, and Instagram and TikTok and and Facebook as well. But that is my mission in life right now. That is what I'm all about. And I'm going to continue doing this until everybody has heard about fentanyl, until everybody has heard about the social media's hand in these drug deaths. And then I can go to Colombia maybe and retire and go to your farm or my farm or whatever.
Well, why don't we do this? And if you share with me the link to the documentary that you and the rest of the parents put together, which, by the way, it's great. I believe it's very important, and that you come on around minute 18 or so. But if you share with me the link, I will also post it here as part of the episode. It'll be available, with this show on the links, with the show description on YouTube as well. Oh, and there it is. I'll go ahead and
So if you go to our website, www.stopthevoid.org, once you get into the webpage, right there is a documentary. It's called Dead on Arrival. Again, it was directed by Dominic Cherno and produced by Christine Wood. And you can go on there and see it. You can also go on Facebook. Actually, on Facebook, if you go, where they show documentaries, you can go onto. I think it's What to Watch. There's a link there. If you put Dead on Arrival on Facebook, you'll find their link on there as well. And you will also find a link to the documentary on YouTube. Again, Dead on Arrival, and you'll find it there. So far, I mean, according to the links on Facebook, there have been over 77,000 views already, I believe. On YouTube, there's over 33,000 views alone on YouTube, but that's not even including the amount of people that have seen it through presentations at schools. So we know that it's way over, 100,000. We can never really calculate how many people have seen it, and like I said, I don't know if I said this before or not. It's not because I'm in the documentary or because Amy or Steve or Matt are in it that I'm saying it's great. It's just that I have been told that it's the most important. It's the most important, the best directed on the subject matter at hand to bring awareness to the fentanyl scourge in the United States. This documentary will open your eyes in a way that you did not know before, and it just really hones in with this fentanyl scourge. I'm sorry, I was thrown off.
It's okay.
Squirrel.
No, it is important, and we're getting close to the time hack for us. But can we bring you back onto our show and talk a little bit deeper and to get updates, on the good fight that you're doing right now with fentanyl and illicit drugs?
Absolutely. Not only is it I'd love to come back on first and foremost. And, again, like I said before, our number one objective right now is awareness, but we also have a huge presence in the Senate and Congress of the United States of America, where we're advocating or pushing for reforms of Section 230C, which I can explain to you in the next episode if you'd like,
Yeah,
and
that'd be
also
great.
the fentanyl scheduling. I'd love
Awesome.
to. Thank you.
Well, Jaime, thanks so much. I wish we were able to keep you on a little longer, but definitely going to bring you back. And folks, those links are available. Will be made available. You can also find Jaime on stopthevoid.org, and the documentary. They'll also be available on our website and on YouTube as well. But with that being said, folks, we're going to go ahead and index right over here. We appreciate you tuning in, and please educate your kids, educate your family members on this, because it's a huge tragedy that we're going through right now, and we're just barely scratching the surface on this subject. But with that being said, folks, hey, thank you so much, and I'm out of here.